When I talk to the world about my country, they could not believe that this is real. And they have to check Google and read about, because they cannot believe that this is real.
I've actually lived all over the world, and I know what people think about Paraguay. It's like kind of a hidden country in South America, but it's a gem.
We are convinced that Paraguay has many of the answers for the world, but we need to go out and tell this to the world. We need to untap the full potential of the Paraguayans.
In a region often characterized by political and economic turmoil, high inflation, and instability, Paraguay stands out as an exception. But how has this small landlocked country managed to maintain stability and achieve economic growth? Over the past 2 decades, its economy has grown faster than the regional average, with significant reductions in poverty. Additionally, Paraguay has one of the most competitive tax regimes fostering business growth. Paraguay runs on 100% renewable electricity, making it one of the greenest countries in the world. We've come to Paraguay to uncover this hidden gem. So what makes Paraguay so intriguing? To find out, we'll delve into the factors that shape this country today, the foundations of its economic strength, and the unique qualities that make it a compelling destination for growth in the future. Before we get into the building blocks that make Paraguay what it is today, we need to first take a look on how did this place even come to be. What did the settlers see that made them place their roots in Asunción, the capital of what is today Paraguay?
So imagine 500 years ago, they arrived to this place and they settled here for one reason. It was not geography. It was the people, the Guaranis. They found this very friendly indigenous community. So they settled here and they launched all the expeditions to discover other cities. That's why Asunción is called the mother of all cities. 70 cities. Asunción was the epicenter of the discovery of the Americas.
The Spanish explorers and Jesuits missionaries created settlements during the 17th and 18th centuries with the Guaranis. Given the Guaranis' friendly nature, the Jesuits not only protected but also built towns and co-lived with them. This period of coexistence was marked by significant cultural exchange. They used Asunción as the center from which many other cities in the region were founded. This was the reason why Asunción came to be known as the mother of cities. Spanish expeditions departed from Asunción to establish many cities, including Córdoba, Santa Cruz de la Sierra, and the second foundation of Buenos Aires.
By 1850, Paraguay was the most advanced country in Latin America, right? But when you go back 150 years ago, you can see the great Paraguay, a blossoming country that has full of opportunity in terms of production, in terms of invention, creation, all the things that have developed societies everywhere.
It was a blossoming country, but then war happened, which took it back for years. The War of the Triple Alliance was a major conflict that started in 1864 between Paraguay and the alliance of Argentina, Brazil, and Uruguay.
For 6 years we fought. At the end, they killed our president, the only president that lost his life in the battlefield in the history of humankind, Mariscal Francisco Solano Lopez, on March the 1st. And after the war, we lost 60% of the territory and we lost 90% of the male population. 90.
This left Paraguay in a critical state, but after generations and generations of recovery, they seemed ready to rise to the occasion.
So in order to stand up from that kind of a situation, you need time. So the time is now. After 150 years, after 5 or 4 generations of people growing and maturing in Paraguay, I think we are in a position where we can say, yes, 2024, this is the year that we are in a position where we are open to the world and ready for business.
Over the past few generations, Paraguay has taken significant steps to heal from its past. The country has implemented measures to ensure political and economic stability, leading to impressive growth and development. In the last 20 years, Paraguay's economy has grown faster than the regional average, with an average annual growth rate of 2.8% over the past decade. Notably, in 2023, Paraguay recorded the highest economic growth in the region at 4.7%, outperforming neighboring countries like Brazil and Colombia. Despite regional economic challenges, Paraguay has maintained a relatively stable inflation rate, averaging around 4% over the last decade. Its currency, the Guarani, has shown resilience throughout its ongoing 80-year lifespan. This is exceptional in a region where most currencies have experienced significant devaluations or ceased to exist altogether. So how has Paraguay been able to achieve this progress? What are the engines fueling this growth? The building blocks of the Paraguayan economy.
I think that one of the most important things, because when you think about the challenge for humankind, not only for Paraguay, the question is, how are we going to feed a population that is growing, that is going to be around 10 billion in 2050?
Paraguay understands this is a big challenge for the future and has been for decades. This is why agriculture is the first building block of their economy. Agriculture is the most important economic activity in the country, employing close to 20% of the workforce and accounting for slightly over 10% of the GDP. Paraguay is a significant producer of various crops, including soybeans, corn, wheat, rice, and sugarcane. Livestock accounts for about 30% of agriculture production and 20% of exports. The reason is simple. Paraguay is optimal for agriculture. The country's fertile regions are comparable to those of Argentina and Brazil. And despite seeming like a small country, it is relatively large. For example, Paraguay is bigger than Germany.
Porque Paraguay, hoy podemos prácticamente todo el año está apto para la agricultura. Y como el país también ayuda muchísimo. Tenemos mucha herramienta para seguir adelante en la agricultura.
The climate is excellent too. It is basically summer all year round.
No tenemos heladas muy fuertes y por eso soja, maíz, trigo, podemos plantar 3 cultivos directos en una. Prácticamente la tierra no queda vacía en Paraguay.
The land is never empty in Paraguay. This is why they are the 6th largest producer of soybeans in the world, it being the main agricultural export. Paraguay is also one of the main countries where stevia can be cultivated, thus being the 2nd largest stevia producer in the world. Other agricultural products are corn, the most rapidly growing crop in recent years, sugarcane, which is an important crop for small farmers, and yerba mate. But where is Paraguay exporting these products?
El enfoque de la colocación de la venta de los productos es el mercado local, pero también estamos exportando principalmente a Brasil, Bolivia, que son países vecinos. También hemos exportado a otros países como Ecuador, Venezuela o algo hacia África en su momento. Pero el mercado internacional principalmente hoy es Brasil y Bolivia.
And there is still a lot of room to grow.
Eso va a ser imparable el Paraguay. Donde estamos hoy, como yo veo hoy, va a seguir creciendo muchísimo y sí o sí va a crecer más. No hay como parar eso.
The fertile soil and friendly weather is not only optimal for agriculture, but it's also especially suited for the second building block of the Paraguayan economy, forestry. First thing we noticed when we got here was the nature. We were struck by how green and lush this country is.
The fact that Paraguayans do not know much about national parks stems from the fact that we all live in a very natural environment. I mean, all Paraguayans, we live, and we are very lucky, very fortunate, because the majority of Paraguay is green. So that means we all live in a national park.
The reforestation market here, which is something that I think is very exciting. Yeah, Paraguay, this is a place of tremendous amount of fresh water, great soil, right? Great sunlight. Summer, basically 3 seasons out of the year, summer with a kind of a light winter, and many growing seasons.
All of these factors make Paraguay highly productive.
So this is something that also came from the experience of countries, Nordic countries, Finland, Sweden. They have a lot of experience, and a couple of years ago they said, we need to explore other parts of the world. Well, they came to Paraguay, and they planted seed and trees that will take 14 years in Europe. It takes only 7 years here. So the productivity that Paraguay have is tremendous.
So if you compare it to, say, the global north, where you might be growing pine, but I've heard as slow, it's like almost 10 times faster or 5 times faster to grow trees here, for example, than it might be to grow in other climates, right? So Paraguay has like really wonderful baseline metrics for growing trees very quickly.
What we also learned is that they have an intriguing way of approaching forestry.
We had a lot of idle land in Paraguay and deforested land. So I say, why don't we plant trees here? Let's plant trees on a commercial basis so that we can combine economic value with environmental values to the park and to the place, and also social value by providing jobs for the local community. We do the reforestation, we do it in a way that is called silvopastoral, because we combine trees with grass and cows. How does it work? I mean, the trees are protecting the grass and the cows so that they are happy cows because they eat or they grass. So the forest protects, creates an environment that is more moderate. The other thing is, when you have a grass cover, the soil does not get erosion. It's not erosion to the waterways, because we have 100% coverage by the grass.
This approach is not only more efficient, but also allows to grow cattle while capturing carbon, and not the other way around.
Our major activity every day is to capture carbon in our forest.
With around 40% of Paraguay's land area being covered by forest, this means a lot of carbon is being captured already. Alongside other initiatives, it could even lead to Paraguay becoming completely carbon neutral.
I think that, the reforestation, for example, could be a really big wave or a really big trend in the future. Paraguay has the opportunity to become a fairly large nation that's totally carbon neutral, because the electricity here, almost, I think, more than 90, very high percentage, almost 100% of the electricity here is from renewable hydroelectricity, from hydro dams. So that's something that lowers substantially Paraguay's, total carbon output, let's say. And if you couple that together with its reforestation potential as a carbon sink, Paraguay has like very, very good potential.
This takes us to the third building block of the country's economy, the one that keeps the whole show running: energy. Paraguay generates 100% of its electricity from renewable sources, making it one of the only countries in the world that runs completely on renewable electricity. Power generation relies almost entirely on hydroelectric power from the Itaipu Dam.
It's a massive victory for Paraguay over the past decades. It's one of the greatest facilities to produce green electricity. Would you be able to describe to the audience a little bit more that what is Itaipu Dam in your own words?
Itaipu was built 50 years ago in a time where it was the biggest engineering project maybe of the world, a joint enterprise with Brazil, because we share the Paraná River, that started out as a territorial problem. There were issues on the boundaries of the countries. Again, why am I mentioning this? Because this is how you turn problems into opportunities. And this is how it happened. And Itaipu ended up being the largest dam and still is the third largest dam in the world, generating enormous amounts of green energy that now positions Paraguay as a global player in this green energy business that is so demanding in the world. So it started out by building a dam that could provide energy, electricity to the countries.
Welcome to Itaipu Dam that lies between Paraguay and Brazil. It's the third largest hydroelectric dam, and that has allowed Paraguay to become a net exporter of green electricity. Paraguay has a lot of thanks to this dam. It has been offering its tremendous opportunities to become one of the only countries in Latin America that is completely operating with sustainable energy.
The dam produces excess energy that today Paraguay is exporting. This makes them the largest electricity exporter in Latin America and the third largest net exporter of renewable electricity in the world.
And the fact that we are exporting 80% of our energy to our neighboring countries at low tariffs, because and this is the way things have been run before. We need to change that. We need to completely plant a flag into Paraguay and say, look, we have the greenest, most abundant energy in the world. If you are the owner of an industry or an entrepreneurship idea or anything related to the growth of the economy, come to Paraguay. We're going to plug you in to this green, abundant energy.
This excess of green energy is a massive opportunity that will enable even further growth.
The clean and renewable energy that we have. I mean, there is a huge opportunity there. And I know that the current government, and there are a lot of projects now to focus on that.
So what we need to do is tell the world the next generation of green, sustainable energy is in Paraguay. For a digitalized world, a world that needs abundant energy, and a world that is preoccupied with the ecosystem, with the environment, because this is 99% of the energy produced in Paraguay is green and renewable. And that is an enormous opportunity we have to share to the world.
With this vast green energy available in Paraguay, where companies can just plug into the network and produce sustainably, we reach the fourth building block: manufacturing. Manufacturing represents 20% of the GDP, and it has seen impressive growth. In the past 20 years, the industrial GDP has multiplied over 5.5 times. Food and beverages are the core of Paraguay's manufacturing activity, accounting for about half of industrial activity. Wood products contribute over 8% of exports. Also notable are textiles and leather alongside paper and paper products. Paraguay is also part of Mercosur, the South American trade bloc, thus making Brazil and Argentina their main trade partners for exports. Nevertheless, production is not only being exported. Paraguayans are now consuming more nationally produced goods than before.
When we started, there were not many Paraguayan industry that were leaders inside their category. But today we see in cookies and crackers, we see in alfajores that there are some Paraguayan companies that have been really top of mind in the last few years that are more artisan type products, but are very good quality. In beer, we have seen that Paraguayan national beers have been really taking part of the market share.
Why are companies betting on Paraguay for manufacturing? What are the reasons these entrepreneurs are producing here?
Do have a good labor force. We do have a cheaper labor force. We have a young sales force as well. Cost of land is very cheap. Cost of rent is very cheap. Taxes are very low, the lowest in the region.
These benefits are incredibly attractive for producers, and companies around the world are starting to notice. This is the case of Spanish paddle company Knox.
Well, after making our studies, Paraguay was one of the countries that fits better to the business for many reasons. Some of the reason is because, they have some laws that give you facilities to be here. They have the Maquila law, and also they have the 60/90 law that, helps you in everything about taxes. So how you introduce your raw material here, everything. So this is good, and in the beginning it's very good. Hand labor is not so expensive as in Europe. It's very important because you need a lot of people here. And the third thing is that you get people to work, and the people
Are ready to work, willing to work.
are right, yes, and they work, and you got people.
Paraguay seems like a great opportunity. So why is it that more international companies are not yet taking advantage of this?
So you ask, why aren't there multinational factories in Paraguay? We have almost zero, just a few. Why aren't they, forming a line to come open their factories here? We have all of these benefits. And really what happens is that multinationals usually go into a country buying a company. They buy a brand that is already has X% of a market share and is already exporting to the region. But companies in Paraguay are too small. And they are too small because we only look inside Paraguay when we invest and when we want to make a selling strategy. The size of the market here is so small that we will never be able to grow if we don't have this financing to let us
take the risk to go build a brand in Argentina or Brazil or Uruguay or Chile. Once we have this, a lot of industries will start doing this. And then the, Unilever's, Johnson & Johnson's of the world will come and buy these factories, because once they buy factories, they don't buy machines, they buy market share. And market share in a small country like Paraguay is not attractive. So, a big step for big multinationals to come here comes through the growth of our brands, our industries, and this will come through finance. So this is why I think that if we think of a Paraguay here to 20 years, we have to inject money, risk money to finance industries, and this is how we are going to be a country that is a big player worldwide in industry and not only in agriculture. So today, Paraguay has to see what we want to be in the next 10 years to 20 years. Do we want to keep exporting energy, or do we really want to industrialize our country? And if you ask me, industrialization is the way to go, but industrialization without financing does not exist.
We have now explored the building blocks driving the country's economy, and it is clear they hold significant growth potential and a promising future. With an international focus and pro-market regulations, the country is making a strong case for investment. But what truly makes Paraguay stand out isn't just these building blocks. It is the combination of their promising future with a few additional elements which make Paraguay's story so intriguing. During our stay, there was one thing we heard over and over again: stability.
Paraguay has already obtained, during the last decades, a very strong macro stability, macro economy in regards of low inflation, a very strong currency.
Paraguay should also start to being known for its economic stability, low inflation, very, very serious ways in which economic activity is being conducted.
I can say in the last 30 years, you can see the huge political stability and the huge macroeconomic stability.
I think the stability of the country is something that I value a lot.
All the economic advantages, lower taxes, stable politics.
20 years ago, Paraguayans, we make a strong commitment to macro stability. And how we prove? A country that has maintained macro stability, 80 years of the same currency. And for an European, this might not be a big issue, but Latin America has been full of cases of hyperinflation. And this is one of the main roots of instability, high inflation. Paraguay has maintained very low inflation, has an independent central bank.
Paraguay stands out in the region for its remarkable stability, having enjoyed a prolonged period of economic and political steadiness. This has fostered a favorable environment for business. Coupled with the implementation of structural reforms, this resulted in a significant decrease in the poverty rate from 52% in 2002 to 19.9% in 2022.
And talking about stability and talking about financial terms, we can also talk about taxes. It's very easy to start your business here, and the government and the country has made a lot of effort on that. Specifically, for example, one of the things that have done the past government is the EAS. So now you can open your business in only 72 hours, everything online. So these kind of things. Of course, there are things that we have to build on that, and there are things that we can get better. But in general, it's very easy to make business here.
Paraguay offers an attractive tax landscape for foreign investors. Business income, including capital gains and foreign currency exchanges, is taxed at a maximum of 10%, with special regimes reducing this to as low as 1%. The simple 10-10-10 scheme ensures maximum 10% for corporate, income, and value-added tax. Foreign source income is generally exempt unless tied to local interest, commissions, or capital gains. Dividends and profits face an 8% tax for residents and 15% for non-residents. Large investments of over 13 million USD have significant tax incentives available, including exemptions and tax-free dividends. Alongside the favorable tax environment, the creditworthiness enhances the appeal. Earlier this year, S&P Global Ratings upgraded Paraguay's long-term foreign and local currency ratings to BB+ from BB. Also recently, Paraguay's credit score was upgraded to investment grade. Baa3 from Ba1 by Moody's Ratings. This shows how the country is well positioned to sustain growth and manage debt levels effectively, making it an increasingly reliable destination for foreign investment. This upgrade is driven by consistent economic growth, prudent macroeconomic policies, and the country's ability to attract private sector investments. Thanks to sustained effort, Paraguay has managed to put themselves in an interesting position. This leaves an intriguing question. What are the drivers that will ensure Paraguay's bright future?